Hello and welcome to this episode of UX Conversations. In this series, we invite special guests to share insights about their work and expertise and their thoughts on the design industry and current developments shaping the UX domain. My name is Ake Rudolf. I'm head of strategy at International Design Center Berlin and director of the UX Design Awards. I hope that today's talk will inspire you and that you can take something away for your own work and career. In this episode, I'll be talking to Joshua To. Joshua is a vice president for product design for AR and wearables at Meta and coming on board for the jury of the UX Design Awards Spring 26. Joshua, it's great to have you here. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Ake, for having me.
Where are you joining from now?
I'm actually in Antwerp right now, closer to where you usually are.
Right, so you're in Europe. Great. Josh, can you share a little bit about your career story, first of all, for our viewers to get to know a little bit more about your background and your story, and especially maybe about how, as a visual designer, who you are originally, you've grown into the wearables space and technology, and that's led you to work on some of the most forward-thinking products in tech, like Google Pixel Watch, Google Lens, and now, of course, Meta's Glass series. So, what was your story?
Yeah, I'm from San Francisco, California. Uh, my parents are originally from China. They sort of fled the Chinese Cultural Revolution to come to the US, kind of to get, kind of classic immigrant story to give my brother and I better opportunities. And I think I was just lucky enough to kind of grow up with technology and kind of in Silicon Valley where um, tech was just sort of in the water and you kind of lived and breathed it. And so I just happened to be in school growing up during the dot-com boom and bust. And I guess my family kind of come from a family of, I guess, artists and craftsmen. My grandparents on my mom's side ran a photography studio in China. My mom and my dad ended up making coats together. So they were furriers at one point. So my mom was a seamstress, and my dad was a fur coat maker, basically, where you can kind of take animal skins and turn them into pretty beautiful coats. Obviously, that's not as in style or and is a bit frowned upon now. But I think I just grew up with craftsmanship and making things kind of at the center, and that was really, really inspiring to me. And yeah, so grew up in California, kind of around the tech stuff. In high school and in college, I was super into fashion, and so started several kind of clothing brands, with the one in university probably being the most successful. And it was also during university that I got really passionate about how I can use design as a way to cause positive change to happen in the world. And so I guess that's kind of been a really big theme for me. And yeah, so graduated from university, studied design and communication studies there, continued to run my clothing brand for probably a couple years before I got my first kind of quote unquote real job in tech. Was lucky enough to get a job at Google. Started my career at Google kind of really at the ground floor. My first job at Google, I was proofreading advertisements that show up on google.com, like text ads, checking it for grammar, spelling, spacing, punctuation, uh, policy guidelines, all that. And to sort of slowly work my way into customer service, which include phone support, chat support, email support, and then got into marketing, got into program management, and then eventually was able to be a product manager for a couple of years. I always wanted to be a designer, and at the time, Google had a pretty narrow view of what credentials you need, what experience background you needed in order to be a designer at Google. And I unfortunately didn't quite have that. And so while I was a a product manager at Google, I basically was sort of my own UX designer, product designer at nighttime, like kind of designing the interfaces for the products that I was the manager for. But I wasn't officially the designer. And so I eventually left Google, started my own venture capital fund, which we attached directly to a design studio that I also built up from scratch. And I got to sort of do the job that I always wanted to do. And, you know, we had a really good time there, but long story short, maybe 3 or 4 years into running that business, Google kind of unexpectedly came knocking and acquired the design studio that we built as part of the venture capital fund, and I got to return to Google as a product design manager, where I got to finally sort of do the job I wanted to do. And so fast forward all these years, I've gone from kind of leading design for a lot of our productivity and collaboration tools at Google, like things like Gmail, online docs and spreadsheets, meetings, and products like that, over to more spatially forward products like Google Cardboard, Google VR, Daydream, Google Lens, AR Core. So yeah, I left Google a little over 4 years ago, and I was largely leading the design group and research group for glasses, earbuds, and watches. And I'm now at Meta, looking after um, wearables. And so I have the privilege of leading the design work for our AI glasses, our smart glasses, our AR glasses. And I also run a small product team focused on kind of the discovery of new products and form factors that we're exploring for the future. And yeah, I guess in many ways, like, just to wrap up the story, maybe my background and interest in fashion, um, uh, overlapped with tech, kind of has been in many ways kind of the breeding ground for me to have this job that I have now, which is just to be really sensitive to how things look on the body, and what people are sensitive to. And, at the end of the day, wearables, it is fashion, right? People have very specific ways they want to show up in the world. And I know, I guess just for like a live demonstration, like, um, these these clear glasses give a very different feel than these glasses I'm wearing now, as opposed to, these Oakley glasses that maybe I wear outside when I'm feeling like I want to have a little bit more personality. And all these little things really matter, just like the t-shirt you wear and the other decisions you might make for what you wear on your body. And of course, um, especially things on your face, they need to look good on you, but they also need to feel good and be comfortable. And so much of the work we do is a human factors ergonomic decision, just as it is a fashion or aesthetics decision.
Yeah, fascinating. So you're in a way an all-rounder in this space, not just a designer, not a manager, definitely, um, and also being very aware of yeah, you said it, human factors, but really about feelings of people when they wear technology. In this case, it's technology. Can you share a little bit about, like, do you have certain ideals, maybe design principles when it comes to, like, how wearables should be comfortable, subtle, but also maybe socially acceptable, not just functional?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like my philosophy in general when it comes to design, product design, is really focused on kind of these three things, which is we want to design and build things that are useful, usable, and beautiful, and probably in that order. And then of course, in in wearables, like kind of undergirding those three things of useful, usable, and beautiful is it comfortable, right? And do people around you also feel comfortable when you're wearing these glasses? And so that's why we take privacy extremely seriously, right? We invested a lot of time into making sure the right signals exist when you're using the glasses. So, for example, anytime the camera is on to take pictures or videos, there's an LED that goes off so that people around you kind of know what's going on and that you're taking a photo. Um, because you don't want to be wearing something that causes people around you to feel uncomfortable.
Connecting to the craft and design philosophy that you just mentioned, I read this quote of you about like every pixel we design should have its weight in gold. Just paraphrasing. Um, can you say what you mean by that and why is that so hard?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's that quote kind of more is related to the context of wearables and glasses because um, glasses are a really powerful form factor because they're close to two of your most important senses, your ability to see and your ability to hear. And so as a result, glasses with the sensors we put on it give the glasses the ability to see what you see and hear what you hear. And now that we're adding a display to the glasses also have the ability to sort of augment the things you're already seeing around the world with a display. And so um, as we think about building wearables, it's just incredibly important that we build things that we believe are going to make people's lives better. And so if the display goes on and starts showing me additional sort of input in addition to the world around me, it's just deeply important that those things are really, really deeply thought through. And um, I would say the majority of the things currently in our glasses, and we just announced last week the Meta Ray-Ban display, and it's a very high resolution but small heads-up display in glasses. And um, the thinking is we've had you know a good amount of success. With our Ray-Ban Meta glasses. Those are audio-only glasses. And the thought about adding a display is that there are often times where a display is really helpful. Um, and a few examples are um, if I'm in a bit of a noisy environment and I'm sitting across from you, Ake, at a cafe, and I'm having a hard time hearing you, I could turn on captions so that I can real time see the words you're saying so that I can follow on our conversation easily. Or right now, one of the big pain points of taking photos with the Ray-Ban Meta glasses is that you're not 100% sure how you frame the shot and if you got the photo that you wanted. And with the display, for a split second after you take the photo, you get a little thumbnail telling you which photo you just got. Or when I'm having conversation with AI, a lot of the answers sometimes, they naturally just come to me with audio. But there are some sort of things I want to talk to the AI about where a visual response is really useful. um, if I'm out on a hike and I'm wondering if something around me is poison oak or poisonous, um, maybe the thing I'm looking and wondering about is not actually poison oak or a poisonous mushroom. But then in the response, it can be like, hey, this is what it looks like, so that as I continue on my hike, I can kind of look for the thing that might be actually of a concern. Anyways, this is a really long way of saying that. We don't want to show things in the display unless we feel like the thing we're going to show is really, really valuable to someone and um, it's safe to do so, right? Like, I think so much of our day to day life is about sort of harnessing our attention and being able to focus on the right things. And, we just really want the devices and the products we build to really add value to people's lives and not make them feel like extra distracted. And so that's why I said, like, every pixel we light up, especially as a design team, we're very generative. We come up with all kinds of ideas to do all kinds of interesting things. But I think practicing restraint is really important. And anytime we want to sort of finalize a product decision, we really want to feel super confident that the thing we want to deliver um, is really valuable and is going to be helpful.
I take it much more about use cases. What's useful? What do people wish, need, maybe don't know that they need, but how can it support them in different situations?
Yeah.
Of course,
And people have different preferences, right? And so,
nobody is alike. So go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to say, like, people have very different preferences. And so, a big part of what we do is to understand um, why someone might want something and why someone might not want something. A lot of it has to do with the context in which um, the context that's in their life, right? But also a lot of it has to do with just preference. Some folks want something and some folks find a thing pretty distracting, and so a big part of the work we do from a systems standpoint is to make sure that we also deliver to our customers the right settings, so that if you get a message from WhatsApp, do you want a little notification in your field of view to say, hey, you just got a message from your partner? Or do you want it to be just the audio telling you a message is in there? Or do you want it not to tell you at all, and you want to not be distracted at all and just turn on the display to see if you've missed a notification? And so, you know, what I just described is like three possible modes for it could be for the same person in different situations, or it could just be for different personas, and different people have different preferences, and we have to be really sensitive and thoughtful about those things as well.
Can you share a little bit about your user research methodology, or is there one framework you use, or is it different ones? Because you're designing for the whole world, for products that are so versatile and at the same time so complex, and you're interacting with people across different senses, and they are very finely and highly tuned, throughout our evolution. So it's really hard to be really intuitive with technology. So I'm just wondering, in terms of like how do you get to the right solution, and how do you frame the right use case? As you say, like it's very often about taking away. It's not like pushing every feature, every possibility into a product,
Right.
because then you overload.
Yeah. I mean, I think if we're just talking about the display product, um, it's pretty early on, right? It's like one of the first um, beautiful form factor display glasses on the market. And we largely thought in our sort of product development process that this was largely for early tech adopters. And based on the fact that we think it's largely for early tech adopters, we basically develop personas of kind of we even name them. In this case, there's like a person that we've named that's like roughly this age range, and has this job and enjoys doing these things. And we kind of have like a jobs to be done kind of methodology, but essentially, um, to boil it down, it's what job is the person who's buying the product hiring the glasses to do for them, right? Um, and that's kind of generally um, the framework in which we test and decide whether or not we're actually solving the problems that the user might solve, might be hiring our glasses to do. Um, and so we might be really excited about some feature, and then in the user testing that we do and the research that we do, it's like actually, yes, this is interesting, but um, this isn't useful to me because, oh, it took way too long for me to get the information that I needed, and I could have just pulled out my phone to get the information anyways. Or, hey,
Mhm.
this is useful, but it was distracting. Or, um, hey, it would have been a lot easier for me to understand this information if it was formatted a different way. And so that's where I think user research is incredibly valuable to us.
Obviously, like this technology has an enormous potential in terms of accessibility and inclusion. So these are probably like areas that it would be wonderful to go into. I'm wondering if you're thinking along this way when developing the glasses, and potentially even working with associations that work with people with disabilities, maybe motor disabilities, hard of seeing or hearing. Is there anything you can share about that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I would say for me personally, and I think also for the team, um, when it comes to Ray-Ban Meta, one of our most fanatic and passionate groups that use our product and use our product on a daily basis for many hours at a time is the blind and low vision community. And I would say that that's probably one of the things that I myself and as well as the team is most proud of, right? I think um, it's been life changing for some of these people to be able to use our products. And I'm also really proud of this partnership we have with a company called Be My Eyes. They sort of have a network around the world of volunteers who are willing to be uh, basically lend their eyes to people who might have a hard time seeing. And we have an integration of that application that usually people use smartphones for um, with our glasses. And so anytime someone who's blind or low vision is having a hard time understanding what's on their fridge, or they just got a letter and they could use some help reading it, or they're trying to find something in their house and they're having trouble, they're able to start a session with Be My Eyes on their glasses, and then the volunteers around the world can basically tap in on their phone and do these 30 seconds to maybe a few minute sessions to help people out. And basically, the glasses then share the point of view to the volunteer, and we're able to make that connection. And it's been, one of the things we're just most proud of. And we just announced last week also conversation focus. Um, and that's really a feature that, for maybe someone who's hard of hearing, it's sort of like, being able to deliver a, a feature sort of like hearing aids. Um, but I guess the point I was trying to make is that, like, being able to serve people who struggle with a certain area is incredibly amazing. But also, what we found in technology over and over again is that oftentimes when you can solve a problem for a small group of people, it can end up sort of scaling to helping a lot of people, right? Just like a really good example is when wheelchair curb ramps started being implemented. Those really early on were for people who are really having trouble being able to cross the street because of the
Yeah.
sidewalk. But when you add these,
Obviously helps when you have a pram or when you're pushing a shopping
right,
cart,
yeah,
and when you're older as well.
yeah. And so then as a result, it helps people with, strollers, skateboards, bikes. It's something that helps a lot of people. And so conversation focus is sort of one of these things where early on we're thinking about, like, hey, can the speakers in your glasses maybe help people who have a hard time hearing um, hear better? It turns out yes, but also in noisy environments, conversation focused feature is helpful to everyone. I was just at a dinner last night for the Us by Night conference, and it was a super noisy environment and restaurant. And I was really having a hard time hearing the person right across from me. And
Yeah,
I
we
was
all
able to
know the
turn that,
situation. Yeah,
yeah, I was
yeah.
able to turn that feature on. And it was like, it made a huge difference. I didn't feel like I had to scream, and the person across from me also didn't feel like they had to work as hard as they normally have to.
Yeah. Same goes for meetings, concerts.
Yeah. And I talked about this a little bit earlier, but captions I think is another thing where it's like I don't have a hard time hearing, but I found that like I love turning on the captions when I'm watching a TV show or a movie because it just kind of helps me follow along. And sometimes there's an accent, or sometimes I didn't exactly catch the line that the person said, and the captions are really helpful. And again, that's a feature that's really kind of originated to help people who have a hard time hearing or are deaf. Um, but is also just a useful feature in general. And so not only is it helpful for kind of keeping track of conversations happening around you, captions will be really useful for, especially in cases where they're speaking a language that you don't understand and you're able to live translate and see text in real time. So we're really, we're super, super excited about what we can deliver here.
So simultaneous translation from foreign languages, is that implemented, or is that something
Yeah,
that's
live
going to come?
translation is one of the features that exists for our Ray-Ban Meta glasses, audio only, but also for the display product that we just announced. There'll be live translation as well.
Well, you've been talking about different modes of interaction, and obviously with the glasses, you're way beyond touch. There is no screen, there is no
Hmm.
apps that you can touch. Um, so I'm wondering. I'm very keen to hear your ideas about the role of ambient interactions and ambient signals. Audio and speech is an element that you know mentioned, but maybe also like haptics, and what role they play for UX, and how does it change the user interaction with products, but maybe also what does it imply for designers? What do they have to change anything in the work or approach?
Yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of the work is kind of just fusing together um, the various input modalities. So on a smartphone, what are the things that matter the most? It's sound, touch, haptics, um, and also the visuals, kind of all orchestrating together for you to feel like the input that you're placing into the system is giving you the response, both positively or negatively, so that in many ways it's a wayfinding for you to feel like, hey, am I getting the thing I'm trying to do on my phone done? Or, did I tap the wrong thing or the wrong thing happen? I think with glasses, in many ways we're kind of limited because of, you've lost the touch screen and the big kind of impetus behind glasses, or at least the properties that we think make glasses very, very unique, is we think you can kind of live more heads up again, right? Like I think while the smartphone in many ways has been one of the most incredible innovations in human history, um, it is taking our attention a little bit away from kind of the world around us. We kind of talk about it on the team. When you're kind of on your phone looking down, it's like we call it the BlackBerry prayer, where you're a bit kind of disconnected from the real world. And so we really love the idea of like when you wear glasses, you can maybe kind of live heads up again and kind of be present in the world around you. And so we've thought a lot about just how the inputs that we have can kind of um, support that, right? So with our glasses today, with the Ray-Ban Metas, if you want to take a picture, you use your voice, or you use the buttons. If you want to turn up the volume and down, same thing. There's like a cap touch, but also you can use your voice. Obviously, now that we're making display glasses, we've had to think about how to support some of the new use cases that exist with the display, and sometimes voice and touch isn't quite enough. And so that's why with the Meta Ray-Ban display product, we've got a new input modality. There's a Meta neural wristband, and um, it's a very powerful input method to allow you to control and do input on your glasses in a super low friction, discrete way. And um,
Can you describe this a little bit, how it works?
yeah, I guess I could just show it to you real quick. So here's one of them. Um, this is the wristband, and it's got these sort of electrodes inside, and it measures the electrical signals kind of going through from your brain to your wrist. Um, but it's able to sort of distinguish this gesture versus this gesture versus this gesture. And so I'm able to swipe, scroll. We even sort of invented some new gestures. Like for example, if you pinch and roll
Basically, with your fingers, and the
with your fingers.
bracelet, yeah, understands what you're doing
Yeah.
on with your hand.
Yeah. So like this pinch and roll gesture, that's how you turn up and turn down the volume. If you're in maps or in gallery, this is how you zoom. And it's been really fun to kind of take a brand new input method and explore, prototype, and figure out what are sort of the default gestures and the the new kind of interactions kind of for a system. And similar to what we were talking about for user research before, um, the work we need to do is sort of a combination of like what the technology is capable of doing, um, aligned with what people are able to sort of quickly learn and understand, over kind of, at least for the basics, over a short period of time, right? And so sometimes the technology might have a really high ceiling, but you can't expect a new customer, a new user for your product to learn like 14 new gestures at once. And so um, so much of the work we do is to make sure that people feel like they can kind of grok and understand the new methodology well, and then sort of build on top of it as they become more comfortable with the system and feel like they can kind of do more power user type things.
Were there surprises when you were developing this interaction between touch, haptics, and voice? Were there moments in user testing and in the development where you thought like, we never thought about this?
Trying to think of a good example. I mean, the quick answer is yes. I am trying to. I don't know if I have a good example to share with you.
Can be both
Like
positive
early
and
on, I
negative,
guess like
obviously.
early on, like there were, for example, like right now when you do the gesture to turn up and down the volume, um, haptics would be really useful um, as a sort of to help draw the connection between what's happening visually when you turn up and down the volume, as well as like help you understand how much movement is causing how much um, of a volume change. Um, but it turns out that like sometimes the haptics can conflict with the IMU and also the EMG signals. And so sometimes unexpected sort of technology conflicts can keep us from being able to deliver the experience we want immediately. And so that's something that we really want to work on. So I think in like future versions of this band, for example, we really want to see if we can deliver haptics without that having um, issues, and it causing maybe signal loss or regression with some of the signals. And so maybe that's like a really kind of boring example, but an example nonetheless of where um, we're we intuitively want to do something that we think will be useful, but we're kind of capped. And then, of course, there's also examples of we think something will be useful, and we're all excited about it. And as we do research on it, people don't really respond as excitedly as we might have been, and that's why we do that, and it helps us kind of stay grounded on um, the work we're doing and whether or not the ROI is positive and it's actually useful to people.
Do you have examples of what you discarded because you learned something that you really thought, like as a design team, that would be super helpful, super useful, and then you discovered it doesn't work, and
I
why?
mean, yeah, there's a tons of those things, and it's I think the examples I have are probably ones we discarded for now because they just make the baseline foundational kinds of user experience more complicated than they need to be. Um, and they just require a little bit more bake time. And so um, there's a bunch of gestures that we've explored using sort of physics with the EMG band that we're just not quite ready for just yet, like accelerating scrolling, or being able to switch between apps really quickly with only using the EMG band. Um, but I think a lot of those features or gestures we think are sort of one layer above kind of the foundational features. And we ultimately decided that we weren't going to deliver them because we didn't get the polish just right. And it just requires a bit more explore time before we feel like we can release those next sets.
What you've been describing is a lot about reducing. Again, you said it before, reducing to the essential, not overloading. But there's also another aspect. If you have ambient technology around you, the the um, the issue of context awareness. I mean, like the technology knowing what I need at the moment, what's too much. How do you go about solving this? Because I think that's still a huge issue, isn't it?
Yes, and I think this is where this moment we are in AI really brings a lot, right? Again, earlier I said glasses allow, um, in many ways, your um, your computing to kind of see what you see and hear what you hear. And so, um, really basic examples are if my glasses knows that I'm talking to you and we're in the middle of a podcast, um, well then it should know that now is not a good time to send me a special offer for pizza in the neighborhood because it's like, hey, I'm a little trying to focus right now, and getting coupons for pizza is like probably not very important. And so I think with AI and these extra sensors you have, um, you're able to not have to explain to the system, to the computer, what you mean nearly as much as you needed to before. But as a result, it'll also understand your context a lot better, and hopefully, right now notifications on your phone are relatively not smart, right?
Yeah.
There's like
Maybe
sort of a
just connect it to your
contract,
calendar. That's all.
right? Yeah, there's like a contract between an app developer and the system, as well as your sort of do not disturb um, and notification preferences. But anytime an app wants to send you a notification and your do not disturb is not on, and you haven't silenced your notifications for that app, you're going to get that notification when the app developer wants to send you that app notification. And um, I just feel so strongly that over the next number of months, if not a next couple of years, there'll be a huge kind of disruption there, right? The best example I have to share is, um, again, smartphones are incredible tools and one of the most amazing things that have ever been invented. But whenever I grab my phone to go do something, um, it's not very often that I end up doing the thing I grabbed my phone to do. I ended up like picking up my phone. I get a notification, I respond to an email, I respond to my wife. I ended up checking out some news um, about whatever the heck is going on in the world. And a lot of times I'll be like putting my phone back down when I think to myself, wait, why did I pick up my phone again? And then I go to like do the thing I originally planned to pick up my phone to do. Um, and then I probably get looped into a bunch of other things before I kind of put it back down. And so I really think that glasses plus AI and the context we can get can help tremendously with you being able to get the things you want to get done, and also for you to like get time back for yourself for the things that really matter. And so again, I could sort of think of a world where it's like, hey, I'm about to go do something, and AI is almost like my personal assistant that kind of clears the path for me to get from a task that I want to get done to a task that I need to complete as short as possible. And then soon, I think AI will literally get the task done for me. So instead of me picking up my phone to do something, it'll proactively say, hey, you were just in a meeting with Ake, and he had expressed interest in an article you mentioned and that you said you were going to share it with him. It could find the article for you, and with one tap, it can bring up and just say like, hey, do you want to send that article? Is this the article you wanted to send to Ake? Would you like me to send it to him? And then I just say yes, and it's done. And that's just one small example of dozens, if not hundreds, of use cases that I think can be automated and can help you get time back.
Which would be the perfect world, or some might say the dystopian world of an AI-based PA that's always in front of your eyes, in your ear. And obviously, the big issue here is privacy, both for myself and for you, if I'm talking to you now on the podcast. And I mean, like for technology to be like totally context aware, totally in the know about what I'm doing means I have to share basically all my data with the provider, not just a calendar email, but also my preferences, obviously access to what I'm doing, seeing, talking about. And of course, you work for a company that has a huge amount of outreach to people, and they share a lot of data with them. But is that an issue that you're looking into as well, or is that a concern that plays a role in your work? Possibly other approaches like storing data locally, more locally, and having maybe at some point AI that just works on your device, doesn't have to be overly connected, doesn't have to share everything uh, with the product company. Is that an issue
Yeah, I
you're
mean,
looking into?
yeah, to answer your question simply, it's an it's an incredible responsibility that I take very seriously, kind of both personally and professionally. I think especially as designers, um, we're it's in our DNA to think deeply about the end-to-end experiences and how people feel about a particular feature, a particular product. And so these things are incredibly important. Obviously, some of the use cases I shared with you are more like future looking, what is possible in the future. Obviously, right now with our glasses, it's very clear when we're recording information, and it's very clear when we're not. And most of the time, it's not. But looking ahead, of course, we care deeply about people's privacy and the amount of data we might be collecting in order to deliver on a specific use case. And so, um, I guess to take a step back, there are a lot of things that AI can do, and we spend a decent amount of time thinking about that, but we probably spend even more of a design team's time around what an AI should do um, for the user. And then based on those things, like we think about, what's the most kind of valuable, but also with privacy in mind, right? And so I think for future form factors, future use cases, we're for sure figuring out what's the least amount of information we need in order to deliver um, lots of value to the user. And then, of course, the more you can do on device without it ever leaving the device, uh, is something we're thinking a lot about. And also a lot of times, you know, you could even do things like, um, it's like in many ways, like the camera can one be like a sensor that like captures like actual images, um, but the sensor can also just be used to say, hey, there's a tall glass of water here, there's a computer in front of you, and you can sort of take the the things that are in your space, and kind of boil them down to like the atomic units. And so context does not have to be created with simply like photos and real-time images and videos, but just like semantic understanding of the things around you. And so yeah, we spend a lot of time thinking about those things, and I think the simple answer is we take it super seriously. It's work we're actively thinking about, but also, it's a bit a ways out before we're delivering features and use cases like that.
Obviously, it's a constantly ongoing situation, and technology is developing very fast. But still, if I can, I would like to nail you down on one thing, because um, the responsibility of designers and delivering products responsibly is also an issue that we talk a lot about in the
Hmm.
UX Design Awards jury. And actually, a key question, goal, but also a difficulty for designers is how to ensure the best kind of outcome when you're working in a large organization that's driven by business goals, technology goals, and so on and so on and so on. So, how do you personally, in your position, together with your teams, how do you exercise influence on, let's say, shaping, in the example that you shared, responsible use of technology in the product? Is there an approach? Is there a hack that you maybe developed throughout the years working large organizations? What can designers learn from you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's like a hard and fast rule or even some kind of formula. I just think that um, a designer's role is to be very human centric and people first. And so in everything that it is that we do, we think about whether or not it's like hugely ROI positive for the person, right? And again, like I think people get to vote with their wallets and their time. And so um, people are only using your products if they find it really useful and they're getting value out of it. So that's sort of, in my mind, like the ultimate test, right? Um, but I think in all the small decisions we make that end up adding up to large decisions, or even the large decisions we make, we really think about like, hey, like again, is it useful? Is it usable? Is it beautiful? And that's probably where we bring everything back down to, is that like we might have all kinds of grand visions of um, things that we think will be good for people or will be killer for the product, but are people going to use it? Is it going to be good? Um, and is the cost to them kind of worth it? And so I guess that's like how by first principles we think about it. It's just like, hey, is it good? Is it valuable?
How do you present these soft metrics and, in some cases, unknown knowns in a business context? I mean, like, will people love it? Is it beautiful? Is it useful? It's so hard to measure, right? Especially when you're thinking about a new product.
Yeah, I mean, uh, again, this is like sort of where our research team is really valuable, because we're not designing and building features in a vacuum. Um we're interacting with the real world to kind of get feedback. And for example, like if we're working on something that we're excited about, but the data coming back is showing that it's like, hey, people aren't all that excited about it. Maybe it's not worth the design time, engineering time to fully build out this feature. We should explore some other things. That's a pretty clear, not just soft signal, it's like a hard signal that's like, hey, we're not delivering enough value for people to find this useful just yet. Um, and so, and I think in many ways it's the culture of tech, but also the culture of Meta is that um, there's a lot of learning by doing. And so, so much of our job is to have conviction, but also just explore and try a lot of things and see what's resonating with people. And again, like ultimately, I think um, our end users are like the ultimate like weighing machines. They're the ones who are going to tell us like, hey, did the work we put in and the blood, sweat, and tears we put into making a product really good um, end up resonating with the people who are interested in buying it.
Josh, looking at the time and seeing that you're busy also, final question. You're joining the UX Design Awards jury very soon. I'm wondering what you're looking forward to, and maybe most importantly, also to our listeners, what you expect from participants. What kind of facts should they submit in order for you to judge a solution?
Yeah, I mean, selfishly, I'm super excited to join the jury just to like meet other jury members and to be able to spend time with people kind of in the larger industry that I might not get to interact with on a day-to-day basis. And so super excited about that. Just excited about being exposed to a bunch of work that I might not be exposed to on a regular basis. Like obviously take a lot of pride and really enjoy trying out new products, new services, new software. But I think this jury kind of gives me the opportunity to sort of get some more peripheral vision and take a step back and kind of just see how the industry is kind of moving right now. And so I'm super excited about that. I think when it comes to the submissions themselves, I just really care about like sort of the why and the story behind certain things. And so whether it be a interaction flow or a visual design aesthetic or decision, I care really deeply about understanding sort of the why behind the decisions that were made. Um, and and some sort of self-reflection and self-awareness on whether or not those decisions paid off or didn't pay off. And um, I think especially with UX things, they evolve and they're ephemeral. And so obviously a big part of a submission is to talk about why it was awesome and why it was really good. But I think 5%, 10% of self-reflection on how things can evolve or be better, or whether the right hypotheses were chosen and whether or not they're kind of proven out. Um, I kind of like take a lot of inspiration from sort of the from the saying like you don't ever want to be outflanked, and so um, it's always awesome if the person who's submitting something has the most clear view of the strengths and weaknesses um, of their submission. And so, that's sort of the principle I have when I go into a big review with the leadership team, even at Meta, is I tend to lead with what I believe are the biggest flaws or weaknesses of the thing I'm presenting. Um, you don't want to end up showing up and talking about how awesome it is, and then they poke holes at things that you already know might be areas for improving later. And so I think just honesty is super valuable, and then the story and the narrative behind um, what drove decisions is super helpful.
So you heard that it's your opportunity. We give you the opportunity, if you submit, to upload a research PDF, outline exactly what Josh had said, the why, what you're aiming at, how you approach a solution, or your solution approach, what's the story there, what did you learn from mistakes, how did research influence your design, And there you go. Um, Show us the full picture, be transparent, be honest, and that's maybe the best way, according to you, Joshua, also in everyday
Right.
business. So thank
Yeah.
you very much for your time. Thank you for sharing some of the fascinating thoughts about your upcoming products, and of course about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for the time. Thanks for having me on.
So that's it for this edition of UX Conversations. I hope that you really enjoyed our talk as much as I did. If you'd like to know more about the UX Design Awards, what we do, our different content and events, just jump to uxdesignawards.com and have a look, or follow us on social media, LinkedIn, wherever you are. So with this, until next time, take care and see you at one of our next events. Thank you. Bye-bye.